Back at his house, Yu Damduk was sat there in silence, Jane deep thought, questioning himself if God does really exist. Bro began to rethink his choices of not believing nor accepting the existence of God, but once he God, he got smited without hesitation, making him question if this is what they called heaven's judgment. Yu Damduk began to ponder how he is alive despite being struck down by lightning, yet his body didn't sustain even a single scratch on his body. And despite that, looking ahead, he still sees a pop-up screen notifying him saying, hiring, wondering if he is the only one who can see the floating message. Before we continue, don't forget to like and subscribe to the video for part 3. Wait, is this what they call a status window? The one that talented people have? Thought Yu Damduk. This realization led Yu Damduk to wonder if the lightning strike was a talent he had inherited. To confirm his theory, he called out status window and waited patiently. He looked at the floating message, but nothing happened. This made our protagonist, Yu Damduk, frustrated and annoyed. He wondered if he would have to walk around with a screen on his face like an advertisement forever. He thought that by insulting the gods, he might have canceled his premium life membership, and now he had to persevere with the constant advertisements. Looking closely at the floating message, he realized that it looked like a part-time job notice, saying that the message began to brighten and lighten up, blinding Yu Damduk's eyes. When the system began to show warning signals,
access granted,
it confused our protagonist, Yu Damduk. The confusion turned into shock when multiple system tabs appeared simultaneously, resounding with alerts. Seeing the screen displaying so many requests of part-time jobs, Yu Damduk begins to laugh, looking at the screen tab, saying, even in reality, am destined to do part-time jobs. With a sigh of relief, Yu Damduk decided to look at his current situation positively since he had nothing to lose. Anyway, he saw no other choice but to take the opportunity before him. Looking at the system tab displaying part-time job lists, Yu Damduk decided to check the god's part-time job list and realized it was divided into categories as well. Curious, he tried to click on another category to see what might happen.
Access denied.
This puzzled Yu Damduk as the floating screen suddenly turned red. What? Said Yu Damduk. The system tab saying that it requires divine power to access the part-time job, in which Yu Damduk to ask what divine power was the system replied, it was the energy used by the gods. Seeing this, even Yu Damduk knew he didn't have such power, leave alone did he not possess any talents, which by saying this, he suffered serious blows on how pathetic he was. But his intuition didn't warn him of any danger in accepting the part-time jobs. Besides, who knows, this will be my chance to make a turning point, thought Yu Damduk. Having no other option, he came to a conclusion. He decided to try the part-time jobs. Tapping on the searching for more part-time jobs, Yu Damduk realized that the system tab was like a job website, easy to go through and understand. Trolling through the dozens of part-time jobs, Yu Damduk noticed one that didn't require any divine power, which immediately caught his eye. He clicked on it and saw that the job involved creating the Midgard dungeon with no divine power needed. Further details revealed that the employer was none other than Thor, the god of thunder. The job required only physical labor and the work hours could be negotiated. The payment was 12 Thor per day. There was also a warning that Loki's minions were not allowed to apply, or they would be crushed. Yu Damduk, reading again the part-time job title he saw, it was creating a dungeon, which made Yu Damduk to question if those dungeons are always full of monsters. This revelation scared and shocked Yu Damduk, making him question whether the dungeons were actually created by gods. Should he believe this conclusion? Trying to understand how the part-time job works, he asked how and what will he be paid for accepting, in which the system showed him he will receive 12 Thor. What the fuck is that? Coming to conclude it may be the money used by gods, and that may be currency of the mighty Thor. But since money used by gods, it won't be cheap, said Yu Damduk, and he accepted the creation of the Midgard dungeon. With confidence, he smiled eagerly as a bright pixel light enveloped him and telephoned him to a different realm. Teleportation was a lightning strike splitting an ancient tree. Coming out of the middle of the tree, coughing, making weak, unstable steps out. Fuck Thor fucker's transport and care on his employee is horrendous. Just sending here no protective gear or disclaimer. Looking at the unfamiliar surrounding, you damn duck began to say, I study geography, and ain't no way this is Earth. If it easy, I'm getting my refund from my geography teacher, cause that man had lied on his resume. Today hasn't been a normal day, huh? I wish could assume this to being a dream, but being smited by a god with the worst aim, I am reassured this isn't a dream, said Yu Damduk. Yu Damduk, still pondering if this was the feeling lucid dreaming, when a creature was creeping behind, slowly, not too alert, Yu Damduk. The creature, seeing it, had covered much closer distance. It leaped towards Yu Damduk, our protagonist, sensing something approaching him. He instinctively turned to look what it was. The creature was already close to Yu Damduk, ready to give him the most heartwarming and affectionate kiss. That will put him to a good long rest. Yu Damduk's mind was in shock, unable to react. Seeing the affectionate he was going to receive will be soul departing, and told Yu Damduk,
Come over here and kiss me on my hot mouth. I'm feeling romantical.
The creature opening its mouth wide, sticking its tongue out, so to keep the kiss more affectionate. Yu Damduk, in fear of death, closed his eyes and covered his face. Thunderous sound was heard from the direction of the creature, shocking him. What could have caused such noise? Seeing it was a huge figure, yet was able to move so quickly. Having a closer look, he saw it was a ginormous man, which made him to question if this beast was birth or constructed to life. Bro looked at his body and the way he was holding the poor creature with a devious smile, like he was the only predator, told the creature to be a good boy. And letting out a huge laughter. Yu Damduk, seeing this titan of a person, began to think this man made him a 5 feet person as him appear. 3 feet brother had the world 10 times zoomed out. This man, who may be Shaq O'Neal, distant relative, turned and looked toward Yu Damduk, contemplating on his unfamiliar face, making him to think if he was a new worker. Yu Damduk's heart stopped beating, saying, GG, we had a great ran. The man gave out a Rottweiler smile, telling our protagonist that he was the son of Odin, and his name is Thor, the god of thunder. The poor creature was holding for his dear life. Thor tapped what he seems lightly at Yu Damduk, almost shattering his bones, telling him that of he knew him because he is worldly famous. And laughed happily, still chalking the poor creature. Picking up Yu Damduk by the shoulder, Thor walked away with him, suggesting they continue their conversation on the way. He asked our protagonist if he had ever eaten, noting that he seemed so light, around 90 kilos.
I beg to differ, sir.
Did this guy just say 90 kilograms was light? Thor then told Yu Damduk that he needed to eat more and weigh an average of 500 kilograms to be considered healthy. He also asked if Yu Damduk was strong despite his light body. Yu Damduk turned to scrutinize the giant figure beside him. Looking at Thor's massive muscular body, he noticed a hammer at his waist that emitted lightning uncontrollably. He assumed it was Mjolnir, confirming to Yu Damduk that this was indeed the real Thor, god of thunder, making him break out in a sweat. Thor extended his hand to Yu Damduk for a greeting, asking if he was a god from Asia. This question startled Yu Damduk. After some thought, he realized it made sense for Thor to perceive him as a god. Looking around, he noticed 2 gods seated in a meditative stance, though he couldn't recognize what type of gods they were. By their appearance, they didn't seem human. This made Yu Damduk realize he was the only human among dragons, significantly diminishing his chances of survival. Wait, he remembered he didn't even have a chance, let alone a percentage of one. With a fearful and shy smile, Yu Damduk answered Thor's question, saying he was the god of the mountains.
C-A-P. Cap. Cap. C-A-P. Cap.
He added that he came from a small mountain.
Cap.
Internally, however, he thought, damn, if I were a god, I'd be the god of poverty with the amount of bills I have. Sheesh. The only difference between me and a homeless person is that I'm living in a house illegally. though laughed at Udamduk's response, tapping on his back. But our protagonist felt similar experience of being hit by Truck-kun. Thor praised Udamduk, telling him he had heard that he had saved people who are in danger. Thor's mood shifted dramatically when he remarked that Udamduk seemed deeply immersed in human culture. This put our protagonist on high alert, wondering how he had ended up in such a precarious position. He realized he needed to be careful or risk dire consequences. Udamduk laughed it off, telling Thor that he wanted to learn and understand human needs. Internally, he knew he had learned a lot about human frailty after that lightning strike. No further confirmation was needed. You must really cherish humans a lot, Thor replied, then asked Udamduk if he was sure about taking on this part-time job, which Udamduk's heart skipped when he was asked this question, recalling the part-time job was the creation of a doujin. With a bloodthirst glare, Thor told Udamduk that his job was to make humans suffer. With a dilemma but unable to express, Udamduk forced a laughter and told Thor that of course he was prepared for the job. Approaching the doujin in creation, Thor asked Udamduk that if he ever had about a doujin called the Minotaur's Maze. Yes, I do have heard of it. Why, Sir Thor? Asked Udamduk. Well then, this will make things simple for me, said Thor, pointing forward for Udamduk to look. Turning his head in the direction Thor indicated, Udamduk's eyes widened in surprise and disbelief. A bright light blinded him momentarily as birds flew past, causing him to shield his eyes from the intense illumination. The sight before him was spectacular, something he had never witnessed before. It was a heavenly beauty that his mind struggled to comprehend. Below, he saw a massive structure the size of a city with numerous workers building it. Thor explained that this dungeon would be based on the concept of the Minotaur's Maze. With a sly smile, Thor turned to Udamduk, who was still shocked by the size of the maze, understanding that such a maze would be of SSS class. Thor then told him that he would be building the maze alongside the other workers.